For 4 days, 300 souls lived inside a bubble of music and connection. It was called the Jacob Collier Hideaway. It was a truly transformational experience, a place where everyone embraced exploration, openness, and curiosity. But what happens when you leave this bubble? When you're scattered back to your own corner of the world? For me, the experience was too meaningful to let it fade into a distant memory. So this podcast is my anchor, a space to share who you are, stories, inspiration, creative aspirations, and struggles. These are Hideaway Stories. And to begin each episode, I asked every guest to bring a song, a sound, a jingle that is meaningful to them, that inspired them. And this is the sound for my next guest.
Touch the hand of love.
Wow, Michelle, why did you choose this song, this sound, this part of the song?
I know. Okay, so I'm a trained classical musician. I could have chosen maybe anything. And there's so much music. So I was just thinking, what can I say is something that moves me? Well, first of all, Yo-Yo Ma is fantastic. And there's a connection to Jacob Collier with Yo-Yo Ma, for sure. And
I didn't know. How's the connection?
okay, I may have the story wrong, but I think he was asked who are I'm going to get this wrong. Who are the next two great musicians coming up of the next generation? And there were two. I can't remember the second one, but one of them was Jacob Collier that I think Yo-Yo Ma said.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm wrong, just tell me, people. Everyone can tell me. And it was some other person. But
I think Jacob is on anyone's list for the next great musician. So the likeliness of it being right is quite high.
Yeah, I have probably selective memory. So yeah, no, there's a connection there, but I had heard this album way before I heard Jacob's albums. And before I heard this album, I heard the albums of the singer that we just heard, who is Renee Fleming. And she is maybe my first favorite classical singer that I ever loved. I listened, I was a student of music growing up. I played piano and voice, and I was very obedient and very studious. I wanted to learn and grow as a musician. And I did all that. And somewhere in my first few college years, so I would have been 20 or 21, somewhere in there, maybe 19, I was listening to these opera singers and I was respecting what I heard. Like, they're amazing. They're singing amazing repertoire. I'm learning about it. I I wasn't connecting with my heart. I was connecting with my head. And then I heard Renee Fleming's album, a number of her albums. And I immediately fell in love with her voice, her sound, her timbre, the way she would phrase music. Someone else would sing the same phrase and it would sound so different when Renee would sing it. And then I heard her sing live in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. I went to school in Manitoba. And I heard her sing live. And she sang this great concert with orchestra, the Calgary Philharmonic. And at the end, she gave an encore, and it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So here's a classical artist, heavy opera. I mean, she's like the representative for the Met Opera in New York. Just the Renee Fleming. And she was singing all this classical literature, these arias from operas. They're so hard. Tosca. And then she gets to her encore and it's Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And it was just, I cried because it was popular literature sung by a classical voice. And there was definitely, um, there were definitely, it was like extending a hand out to bridge from the classical world to the popular world. And I hadn't seen that done by an artist. Fast forward, she's on Yo-Yo Ma's
How
album.
old were you when you saw her live? When you saw this somewhere over the rainbow?
It's probably 2007, somewhere in there. So, golly, 4 or 5 years into my undergraduate study. So early 20s. Um, and we paid dollars, lots of dollars to go see her live. And we got to hear her sing that. And for me, I grew up with oh, what you would say is um, sacred music, so music in the church. And I grew up as a church musician and as a classical musician. And for me, those two worlds didn't really always connect. They were kind of separate because church music it can be like really, it's a wide range of genre in church music. It can be gospel, it can be contemporary, it can be high church, which is, much more formal. I didn't grow up in the formal church. So I grew up with more people inspired of gospel music. And that was kind of my heritage. And then I had the classical, but those two didn't meet. And so for me to meet Renee Fleming and to see her making a bridge between two different worlds, for her, it would be the classical world and American pop music, from somewhere over the rainbow, old pop. But for her to bridge those two together in public and kind of champion the repertoire to expand and make bridges between classical music and theater and insert any other genre. Um, so Yo-Yo Ma is influential in that as well. His entire album, Yo-Yo Ma and Friends, has like Alison Krauss, has these fabulous musicians from lots of different genres all coming together and making music together. And that was very inspiring to me. And why I think that matters is because I see Jacob doing the same thing. I see him building bridges, creating bridges that never existed. And we're starting on that journey. Not all the bridges are complete. Some of them have just started. And I'm excited because I'm coming from a classical side of music. And I'm saying, oh my goodness, I'm like reaching out, like, please, I'm building my bridge this way towards you. Can you please keep building towards me? And I hope we can, like, build a complete bridge and that it'll become a highway for classical musicians to expand what they do and expand their love for music of all types. It doesn't just stay within its four concert hall walls.
Okay, well, I have so many things to.
Sorry, I said a lot.
No, you did, but it's great. It's really great.
Coffee
and
break.
There's so many things that I want to go into. So, okay. Let me stay with the bridge.
Yeah, bridges. Yay.
Did you not, before Renee, did you not have the concept of the bridge? Like, there were two separate worlds for you? You said church and classical.
Yeah.
There was two separate worlds, and you didn't before ever see anyone do that to build a bridge? Or was it that you were thinking about, oh, I want to somehow combine it, but I don't know how, and you were struggling to build the bridge yourself? So where do you find yourself more?
Well, yeah, I think it's probably more of the first. Um, what I recognized when I saw Renee or musicians like that do the similar thing, I recognized something within myself. Oh, I saw that. I saw how she did two different genres and put them together. And so I think for me, it was more like I was a living experience of a broken bridge. I wanted the two worlds that I knew and loved so much to come together. And they have come together in different decades. There was a church musician who Sandy Patty. She's an American soprano, and she worked with Ralph Carmichael and others and made these arrangements of music that were amazing. Her Star Spangled Banner is fantastic, um, and so forth. And she has all these albums. She is a more from the church side, and she is also has classical training somewhere in the background there a little bit. So she was mixing the genres together, and she became an artist that everyone like, oh, this is wonderful. Um, so she's kind of what I would say a crossover artist. And myself, I was experiencing all those things in separate boxes and containers. So when I see someone living out the merging of those two separate boxes or containers and putting into one box and saying, this is music for me. This is what I'm giving to the world. That to me, I think something came alive within me and was like, "Oh, you can do that? I didn't know you could do that. I want to do that." Um, so it was more like getting permission and not knowing it. I needed it.
Mm. And you said, I mean, I don't know how deep you want to go also with personal like psychological things, but you
Sure.
said when you were at Jacob, please keep please what did you say? Please keep building the bridge towards me, and I keep building the bridge towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And that I interpret that as you felt in that classical part, you felt not really seen, or you felt isolated or like disconnected from a certain part within you that you felt couldn't shine. Is that like, am I interpreting too
Oh,
much, or is it something that's true maybe?
I think more like when I came to the Hideaway, um, I was amazed at the collage of people that were present, all from different backgrounds. And you see that when you go to his concerts, but to see people come to the Hideaway, which was very expensive, so you had to really want to come. And just to see all these different people, songwriters, I met people that were not musicians at all, but just wanted to be there. Um, and I felt like I was definitely one of the few classical musicians that were there, but I think had we interviewed, had we met everyone, we would have discovered that there was probably some element of classical training, or there would be more than myself that were classical musicians, or at least had been in the past. So I think I definitely felt like, oh yeah, that's my identity. I'm a classical musician. I'm a music professor. I'm an educator. I do this all the time. I'm not really a singer-songwriter producer. That's not what I do with my time. Not that I couldn't go that direction. Um, but yeah, I think I just felt like I was there representing uh, maybe a camp that was more traditional, and I had not yet discovered the genius of Jacob Collier. And I think that the classical world is still in the process of discovering his genius. Of course, Jacob has more of a jazz background, and even classical and jazz are separate camps a little bit. Like
Oh yeah, they
you're
are.
trained to be a
Yeah, yeah.
musician, but they function very differently. And so you get these strains of musicians that are, well, we're really, we're the violinists of the world, and we're the pianists, and we only play Liszt, Rachmaninoff, or we're the jazz musicians, and so there's all these different uh, kind of offshoots of music, but they're coming together, and that's what I sense is happening, is that there's so much uh, kind of a melting pot happening right now. You just get a big pot and you put all the music in there and stir it up, and you get, Jacob Collier and friends.
Yeah, I was trying to, I mean, obviously it didn't really resonate with you because I was trying to find if there is something that you felt that you're somehow in a separate world, that classical music only gave only could represent a certain aspect of yourself, but it couldn't show who Michelle actually is. Like the connection is not there. And the way you said it, the way like, please keep building the bridge towards me, it felt like, oh, maybe there is some isolated, like Michelle feels a bit like distant to maybe music and creativity in general, rather than
I'm crying on the inside.
Okay, why?
Well, I think so. I think for me personally, in my time of life, when I discovered Jacob's music, which was really only about 18 months ago, not that long ago, I'm not one of the original. Unfortunately, I wish I was. That would be great. I'm not one of the original Jacob Collier fans, but I've come to love him more recently. Yeah, I think upon hearing his music, I realized there was something deep inside that had been dormant. Because you get busy. You get busy doing the things that are before you. I've had 4 children in the last 10 years,
Oh,
and
wow, yeah.
they're beautiful and wonderful, and you get busy loving them and taking care of them and working. And luckily, I am an academic professional. I get to go to a music school Monday through Friday and teach art songs and classical arias and jazz songs and whatever. I get to do that every day. But me, the artist, uh, it was very dormant. And arriving at Hideaway, I felt like there's like, if that's the true heart and core of who I am, it was like a shriveled up, dehydrated raisin, which
Oh,
is like
wow.
you know what a raisin is, just or like cranberries, or just like
Oh, yeah,
I, yeah, I had not been hydrated in a long, 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 long time.
Mm.
And I think everything in my life had been like stirring or evolving up until that moment. Things happened in my life that set me up for receiving the way that I could at the Hideaway. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely feel like me, the artist, has a lot of different areas of musicality that have not come together in a singular way that represents who I am. I live with a lot of different hats on. Like, okay, I'm going to sing an aria. I'm going to do a great classical aria. I'm going to sing a little bit of pop crossover and do like a Christmas number or whatever. Um, but the true artist inside that wants to put all those things together into one type of music has not emerged yet. She is still waiting. She's inspired, but she's waiting.
Yeah, I will definitely come back to this, that's for sure. I want to stay, if I may. I mean, of course, you can always say it's too like personal, but I want to come back to another word that you mentioned that I picked up on, and that is the word obedient. You used that in the beginning when you were talking about the classical training.
Yeah.
So how can you talk about this? Because I feel what you're also sharing is something that I personally never in my life ever had with my life, because I have always thought outside the box. I always loved genre crossings. I basically, I think this isolated silo thinking of music genres, I cannot. I mean, I think there is a purpose to this, and I think it's somehow good because it's preserving things that maybe on a certain level need to be preserved, but it's not my thing. Like it's not who I ever was or could ever be. So I can totally relate with the feeling of, for me, it would be being forced to think only a certain way that is correct within a certain segment of music. And maybe I would be more rebel than being obedient. I would probably not be able to take it long, but I'm so interested because maybe others experience the same way too as you did, how this experience was for you. And maybe you didn't even thought about it consciously. Maybe it was hurting you, like painful to be obedient about it. How were you feeling about this area of your life?
Well, I'm sure it's different for everyone that picks up a Bach fugue and has to learn to play 3 to 4 parts. I think there's something about learning music that is challenging, that it forces you to respect the score, respect the composer, respect the challenge, and you know, humble yourself. It can be very humbling to be a musician and learn things that are hard. And so I think just that exposure and that daily practice of I'm going to practice today for 2 hours and I'm going to do my best. Uh, you have to have an obedient heart or mindset to put yourself through that. And it's not popular. I think, uh, you know, everyone's a little bit different. Different musicians are treat practice differently. I had the blessing of being both a pianist and a singer or a soprano. So I was the worst of both worlds. I was I was the pianist that, was very left-brained and very uh uh legalistic, and I had my boxes and I had to, I could play Bach. But at the same time I also loved to sing. And so that was to me more of the right brain, more of the artistic explorations, and uh the rebel, I guess, could be more of the soprano side and the pianist to be more of the obedient side. And I think you need both of them to really function together, as, we all need our left and our right brains together. Plus I was like a type A person. Like I loved just doing what I needed to do to like, these are the rules, follow them. Okay, tell me what the rules are. Hence, I went into college for like 12 years. I started off with my undergraduate for 4 years, and then they were running a pilot program for a master's degree and said, "Hey, would you consider this?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I did that, and then I took a year off touring as a classical artist, and then I did grad school, and I got into another 6 years of grad school. So I was in universities for 12 years, and I loved it because there's a degree plan and there's like, okay, I took that course, check, take the next course, check. And all of it was wonderful, and I loved all of my training so much. You get to the end of that and then there's you. So I don't think I think I emerged later. I was probably um what would I have been, 30, 29, 30, when I was faced for the first time without a degree plan, with no courses that I needed to take to achieve something. And I was just like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I don't know. So I've been answering that question for the last 10 years, um,
Wow.
trying to find my way. And
Mm.
that's kind of the background of like the word obedience, I guess, as a pianist, you have that training, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's. I sorry, I need to stay there because think it's such a fascinating topic. Just the way you framed it, that practice. I mean, you could everything you said. You could also use the word disciplined, right? I mean,
Oh, yes.
more or less, practice using the word obedient is probably more somebody else tells me and I follow, which you said, show me the
Mhm.
rules, I follow. While disciplined is probably more, I want this. This is actually really what I want, and I'm disciplined enough to do it.
Mhm.
Which resonates more with you, or is it both?
Yeah, I think it goes back and forth between both. Um, if you don't know what you want, then you feel like you do what you're told to do for a while. Some people live their whole lives knowing exactly what they want all the time. I don't live that way. I just can't. I feel too responsible for now for my children, but just responsible to live well and and do the right things, like what you feel inside you is the correct thing to do, and follow that inner voice. And for me, it wasn't so much like I'm going to serve myself and what I want to do and create. It was more, I'm going to receive instruction and learn and grow and see where this takes me. So yeah, I guess obedience is a funny word to use, but I don't know why I used it.
Subconsciousness. That's the thing. Our subconscious is sometimes very smart in using
Aw.
words that mean much more than we think. Thank you for showing yourself. I mean, that's so nice that I was allowed to ask these questions.
Now I'm gonna go find a personal therapist and unload and unpack all of my obedience years.
I mean, I also asked quite nonchalantly because it didn't seem to be a area of pain for you. I mean,
No.
maybe it is more than you want to say, but I don't think it was. That's why I just threw it in casually to talk about this word. I don't think you need a therapist about this, but well, maybe there is you never know, you know. I mean,
We'll see.
I did my things as well, so I'm definitely in the camp of having baggage with words that maybe mean more than I think. So I don't want to overstep
It's
my
funny.
boundaries here, but yeah. So I would like to. This usually I realize it's something that in all the episodes it comes quite late. So asking you this question at 25 minutes is already a win. Michelle, who are
Yay.
you? I mean, you already said a bit, but like, where do you live and where do you teach? You already said you're a professor. Maybe you can just introduce yourself, because we were immediately going into like what your life is like.
Hi, my name is Michelle Eiler. This is the introduction to the podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
I I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, literally all the time, which is in the United States of America. Yeah, okay. And I am multiple things at my university. I work at a university called Oral Roberts University. It's not an old university.
Is that in Tulsa?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was formed in the 1960s. So it's not even 100 years old. It was formed off of Oral Roberts himself, by Oral Roberts, and he was a TV/evangelist kind of person, minister. And he wanted to create a whole person education for the whole world, education that looked at the inside as well as the brain, uh, and as well as the physical body. So putting the mind, the soul, and the body all together into creating well-rounded education. So that's where I work. I get to be the assistant director of music. I get to be the associate professor of voice. I get to be the voice area coordinator, which means I help all of the students enroll with teachers every semester. It's not a it's not advantageous for me to have that role. Um, I get to sing occasionally and perform with our ensembles. We just had an opera night. It was wonderful in November, a night at the theater.
Is there
And
recordings of it?
they're not out yet because they are editing. But they did film the whole thing, and there will be soon.
Well, can you share a link for me to maybe just show like a short few seconds for the audience to hear your voice and like see you perform? It would be so nice.
Okay. Yes, You'll Never Walk Alone was my song, as well as
nice.
Leonard Bernstein's Make Our Garden Grow from Candide. It's like the finale for Candide. It's one of my favorite pieces in the world. It's like all the choir, orchestra, and all the soloists just standing there singing. I do that. I also musical direct for our spring musicals, like our Broadway shows that we do every spring.
On Broadway?
Fall operas. No, like we do music theater at ORU.
Okay.
We're not at Broadway. We do Broadway style music. So we're going to perform Emma, the musical, this spring. Last spring we did Godspell. We've done Little Women, etc. Just different shows.
That's so nice.
So I'm pretty busy. I am married to a wonderful person named Stephen. I met him at OU, where I finished my graduate school, which was University of Oklahoma. And we met in the library, of course. And I was, again, studying for my exams that I had to do because I was being obedient. I love learning and knowledge. I'm also like a soprano, so it was kind of a chore. But I was doing my studying and I met Stephen because he had the key to the graduate resource room that I was supposed to go in and could use because it was really quiet. It was wonderful. And so we met and he was like, well, I'll just be here when you need to be here, when you need to study so I can unlock it for you. And that started the beginning of our relationship and our friendship. And we were kind of friends over the 4 years and got married. And he has a master's in composition, so he's a
Wow.
a composer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's really exciting. He has albums and albums of music he hasn't finished and sent out and into the world, like full albums. He's a songwriter, so good for him.
Wow.
And we've just been really busy. We got married, and then within 2 years, we had our first child, and we were trying to figure out jobs and what do we want to do in life. And now he is a professor at our community college in Tulsa Community College, and he is there more than full time. He's there. He's always in a bit of overload. And he's a music professor, so he teaches some music classes like oral skills and music appreciation, music history. He has a really fun history of pop music that he teaches. It's very exciting. American pop history. And then he's also over like recording. Oh, you have a question?
Wow. I mean, you both really have the whole groundwork of what you need to being a musician, right? I mean, wow, what a power!
Yeah.
What a power musician couple. That's great. Do you? I mean, and I had the privilege of working with you both in the binaural recording. That's so cool. So before I insert myself with some direction I want to go in, which is talking about teaching and talking about voice, for this part, I would like to ask you first if there is something that you want to, like a road where you are currently very interested in that you want to talk about or share, maybe this part, finding yourself, like who you are, like as a musician, which I definitely will pick up on at some point, but maybe there is something that is top of mind for you to talk about.
Well, finding yourself as a musician.
Or do you, I mean, it's just choices. Maybe there is something that you're happy to talk about from your own, but I can just start topics and we see where it goes.
Sure, let's do that. My mind is currently
Okay, then let's stay with your professor job. So let me talk about voice first, because that is something that I'm very interested in. What's your title again?
Associate professor of voice.
Associate professor of voice. So what does associate mean? Like,
It just
is it
means
a
I'm not
hierarchy?
assistant. It's a hierarchy, yeah. I've been there long enough to be an associate, and eventually I'll just be a professor.
Okay.
So it's just time service years. I think I've been there 10 years at ORU already.
So it's not a statement of quality, I guess.
Well, it can be. It's kind of we are a non-tenured university. We have our own promotional hierarchy that we follow. So I'm on the second tier up from the bottom. There's only 3 tiers, so in a few more years I can go for the top tier or the second top tier. But yeah, it should be quality controlled. It's part of professional development, part of your teaching, and your projects that you focus on, personal projects.
Okay. So I'm going to be a bit sassy here, which it seems I am since in the beginning of the podcast, but I'm very, like, I've had many discussions also with voice trainers, and I already tell you that I cannot sing, and you cannot convince me otherwise. That no, I'm sure your voice is great. No, it's not. I can assure you it's not. So let me get that out of the way.
I won't try to convince you otherwise. It's fine.
Perfect, because you won't be able to. It's even become hard. Like, it needed a lot of discussion to convince me that yes, you can train your voice to become at least listenable, like that it's okay. But you still cannot convince me that I will ever become, I don't know who, Bill Withers, or name any great Marvin Gaye, Curtis Mayfield. Like, that's another thing.
Okay, I'm writing these names down.
So, they're soul people.
This is your list? This is your list?
That's not classical musicians. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm just writing down Philip's list.
Yeah, let me share. I just watched Sinners, which is, I'm so late to the party. I guess it's from 2022 or something.
Okay.
And there is a guy, and I fell in love with his voice. He's a blues guy, and he's super young. His name is Miles Caton, Caton. I'm just promoting it because I love it so much. Oh, this is the kind of voice, like, if I could wave a magic wand.
A wand.
Yeah, this is what I would have. Miles Caton. And there is one song, I'm just looking it up, I Lie to You.
Nope. Okay, never mind. Rewind.
Sorry?
Okay. Rewind all of that. I'm rewinding.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a song name. I'm sorry. The song name of Miles Caton
Okay. I lied.
It's called I Lie to You. That's why I was because I was thinking about the song and you were thinking about the actual conversation.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote it down. Never mind anything I said.
So I completely got sidetracked. And I'm not even talking about female voices, because they are usually way, way more beautiful, great voices of the world. So what I want to say is I'm very much into voice and really much studying it as a guy who can do it from like somewhere non-musically trained. And so this is a long lead up to a question. My question is, what do you see people like, is there general feedback that you usually give to most people? Like,
Oh,
is there some commonalities that you can
oh,
see?
yeah.
Like, if somebody wants to develop their voice, like, are there some usual
Mm.
typical pitfalls that they fall into?
Yeah, I mean, the technical instrument that everyone has is supported by their breath, is supported literally by their diaphragm and their support system. And most singers start off talking and then singing. I can sing, but they're using the same technique that you use when you talk. And singing technique is breathing techniques for singing is different than talking. So there's generally you just have to get everyone onto the same page about breathing from a lower place, sustaining your breath core at a lower place, and really trying to hold, expand your support, how long you can hold your breath, how that influences singing and the voice. That's a really general comment. Um, People finding their
So what
tone.
is,
Oh,
so sorry, let me stay there first
sure.
to then go into the next. So is that the typical, like, put your hands on the belly and see if it lifts kind of breath? Do you mean that? Deeper breath, or do you mean something different?
Yeah, it's not it's probably a bit more would need a bit more explanation than just on the belly, but the whole the whole body has to expand 360 degrees around the
Hmm.
torso. So your ribs, your back, your belly, all of it expand because when you intake air, your diaphragm is lowering. And so if you take a really deep breath, you're going to feel some lowering on the inside, kind of a deepening. Um, and so part of our job as voice teachers is to direct a singer to that feeling and noticing, oh yeah, it does get lower. I do breathe from a lower place. The lungs are nothing moves around in your body magically. It's not like the lungs are suddenly, down in your hips or something. But your awareness of where your support is can change. A lot of singers start breathing with the upper chest, very shallow breath, and it's just all like attention up here, and they're not engaging their core or allowing their core to really allowing the diaphragm to lower and then supporting it with the abdominal muscles while you sing. So that's a muscle you have to learn how to engage. And it's a coordination between your breath intake and then the singing process and the
And the
expelling
and
of
the
air.
diaphragm is the biggest indicator to see how deep you're breathing.
The diaphragm is nestled inside the ribs, so it's kind of hard to see.
No, 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 that's true.
It's
But when you're looking for, am I
uh,
improving my breathing? Is the diaphragm the most important part to look out for, that you more or less can feel that this is the part?
yeah. I think if you want to focus on one particular important muscle, is to make sure that the diaphragm is lowering and expanding and stretching.
Hmm.
Um, it's all of it has to work with your spine. It starts with your spine posture, making sure that that's correct first, that the rib cage and sternum are elevated, hanging off of the spine properly, because only then can the diaphragm really lower, and that you're not holding your core. So a lot of ballet dancers will hold their abdominal muscles while they breathe. And as a singer, you cannot do that. You have to release the muscles, the abdominal wall, um, to allow your ribs to fully expand, to allow the diaphragm to lower and sink down. So all of it is really a release to start, but you have to be standing nice and tall. So it's like a really energized release. Like I'm really tall, I'm really full of energy, but I'm also releasing down
So what you're
inside.
telling me is, try not to show your six pack on stage. It's
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Yeah, yes. And you can kind of get into some trouble because especially if you're a guy, there's a lot of like, oh, check out my abs. I've had some students where they're like, you can tell they're flexing on stage, and I'm like, Dude.
Worst thing for your voice then.
You can't, and they're suffering because they can't breathe. And I'm like, okay, well, don't do that. Anyway.
And then breath control, you said, which obviously is super important, but
yeah,
the way, the consistency of out breath, like having the same, let's say, speed of breathing out is probably what holds the note. Or how do you control, when you say breath control, what do you mean?
Yeah. Think of it like management. So a singer has a phrase, and that is when they start their sound until they breathe again. And that's a phrase. It usually is a nice musical phrase, and it works well with the text and the notation, or the melody. But breath management is how much breath do you use at the beginning of your phrase? You have to use enough breath to initiate the sound, but not all of it. Otherwise, you're going to you'll last like one note or 1 second and you won't be able to sustain to the end of the phrase. So you have to figure out how much breath do I need to use and at what point in the phrase do I use more breath or conserve? And you can make all these choices during one phrase. And so that's part of the learning process, is to try, okay, I'm going to hold my breath. I'm going to intake my breath and I'm going to sustain it through a phrase. And I have to learn how to initiate the sound, which is called onset. My onset has to be connected to my core, but I can't relax my core after I start my sound. Like if I went, oh, well, all my breath is gone. But if I went, ah, and then I decide when I'm done, that's breath management. And so using your breath through the phrase. And back to Renee Fleming, she's one of those that it sounds like she could sing for days, and she literally does, like hours, minutes. But her breath, she talks about breath speed. You can choose when you want to sing faster, like faster airspeed and use more, or you can slow your speed down and kind of hover. And those can be advantageous for different kinds of phrases. Like if it's a lot of fast notes, then try maybe a thinner, slower speed of air. If it's like a long, glorious note, like really long note that's sustained, then think about your air really moving. So it's kind of the opposite for support games that we play with different phrases. But yeah, breath management through a phrase. If you want to hear some gloriously long phrases, just listen to Renee. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I already wrote her down, so that's for sure. So how hitting the right note, and especially keeping it there. What would you recommend somebody practice to be able to stay in the same hertz? Keep the A, like I'm singing an A, I'm keeping the A for an entire phrase. Or would you rather say, try melodies, like changing notes, or both? Like what are some good exercises for someone who wants to improve their breath management and note sustaining? I don't know how to, what's the word for that?
Yeah, like how long you can hold a note.
Not, I'm not saying specifically long, but to be able to not get off key or from a note, or get off key from a melody. Yeah,
so
intonation.
That you sing in tune. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Golly.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel there. Yeah. Okay. There's ear training that you can do if you're really bad at it. But at some point, I feel like if you can't hear yourself well, and you can't hear another voice, meaning the track or another instrument, if you can't hear those at the same time and process those two things, your voice plus a track, it's going to be really hard to stay in tune with the track. So it requires some ear training to just hear multiple voices at the same time. I'm reminded of one of our theory professors that would go to the cafeteria on his lunch break. It was Wendy's at the time. And he would just sit there and listen. And he was listening for the cacophony of everyone's voices. So if you go to like a loud space where there's lots of people and they're all talking and having private conversations, if you can sit there and just let them all come together and try to notice them all at the same time, or and then pick out one and follow it for a while, and then pick out another one and follow that. That is ear training. That is like, okay, I'm hearing the whole, but I'm also hearing the individual parts. And I think you have to be able to do that to stay in tune with like another instrument.
So you say that being able to training your ear is basically more important to stay in tune than actually training singing?
Oh, well, I think they go together.
Go together.
Yeah, and a lot of it could be like, I have the wrong technique. And so if you're singing, but you're singing with kind of far back inside your throat and your mouth, and your ears are kind of plugged, and you're not really able to hear, it sounds like you're shouting internally. That's probably like not the right type of technique. And so a lot of singing technique works on these little drills that move your tone forward to the front of your face, your cheekbones, your nasal resonating spaces up in here, the mask, we call it. You can do humming, you can do trills with your tongue and lips, and just trying to move the tone to the front while releasing the throat and not letting it all stay inside here, because this is really hard. This is not supposed to be where you resonate. Resonate means like I'm going to my frequencies and I'm gonna have overtones because of my vocal tract, and there's different areas of the head that resonate better. So if I'm resonating with soft tissue in my throat, like deep inside, it's not going to be as easy for myself to hear myself singing. Whereas if I move it more towards the front, and I work on lots of hums, forward types of resonation up here, I think it opens up the ears. We get into trouble a lot as singers when we listen to ourselves, over listening, like, oh, I sound so good, I'm really enjoying the sound I'm making. You have to focus more on how you feel when you sing, moving from listening to feeling. Do I feel like it's free? Do I feel like it's a lot of work and it's kind of stuck? Does it feel like it's flowing? Does it feel like it's not flowing today? So getting in touch more with your feeling sense than your hearing sense can help if it's in the wrong spot. At the end of the day, all the parts, all the senses come together, and it's a coordinated effort to make sound. And it's a miracle that any of us do make sound.
Of course.
But our bodies figure it out.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, it's you can never isolate. Of course, that's like the magic. The magic. Please give me the magic answer so I can start to sing, like be able to sing. Of course, I know that it's not working like that. At the same time, yeah, you have to train different isolated parts to be able to combine it all in some point, right? So yeah, that's so interesting. I'm not sure like how many people who listen to this episode
We'll be wanting
maybe
some vocal
already
technique
know
training.
this, like from like, oh my
probably.
God, what does Philip ask? What kind of questions is Philip asking? Like the basics of the basics. But maybe
I would add one more thing, and that is what you hear as a child and how you sing as a child. The music that you're exposed to makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because we see freshmen every year come into our program. We see what the average 18-year-old can do now, and unless they're just like a prodigy, the average student has a hard time with ear training. But we have a theory, and that is because music education has been taken out of schools. So the choral aspect of singing and staying on your part and singing with a group is really important in ear training. And it's left the world in two places. So the American church doesn't really have choirs anymore. They don't have hymns, they have contemporary songs. And then the educational system doesn't have choir, and they don't require it, and they don't support it financially. So we've lost choral singing as a society. And now we have
Hmm.
more people that have hard time with ear training, and they say, why can't I get this? I'm like, well, you didn't have to sing the alto line in a hymn or in a choir part growing up and learn how to do that. It wasn't required of you. And so I'm sure there's other reasons, but I feel like that really does contribute to the average singer.
No, it is. And that's why I was so confident in telling you that I won't be able to be that singer, like, no matter who you're saying now. Because no, I mean, I've made my peace with it. It's not going to
Oh,
happen.
right. Okay.
But I already, there was one, and I was arguing with this with so many voice trainers, you don't even know. There's one commonality that I found through all the people that I studied is that they were starting young, like really, really, really young. Like the greatest, like Tori Kelly, Aretha
Oh, yeah.
Franklin, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, like just name the typical greats of voices. They started so young,
Yeah.
and they were exposed to so much music. And then there
Yeah.
is this other theory that pitch, the how good your pitch is it, directly linked to how much complex and just general music you've been exposed to when you were like really, really young, like in the first year of your life.
Hmm.
So I can so resonate with what you're saying, and I think it's so true. And
Yeah.
if if my musical interest started when I was maybe 8 or 9, and
Yeah.
it's from my own interest. It didn't come
Yes.
from, oh, because my parents listened to anything or something. I mean,
Yeah. You
so
found it then.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And that's why there was so much lost in the beginning already.
Oh,
Um
yeah.
so I can completely agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying. And I'm sure
Yeah.
there is like the odd like outlier that can sing like the first time in her or his life, like when they were 20 and no, they'd never sang in their whole life, and
Oh,
suddenly they're like
yes.
this. I'm sure that exists, but it would be probably in the winning a lottery kind of
Yeah. Few and
uh
far in between, for
yes.
sure. They usually make the headlines too.
Yeah, they do. Okay. Teaching. Why did you choose to teach, and how how does it fulfill you, or also maybe not, like how are you,
Mm,
how is your perspective on teaching?
I I kind of like to flip it and say that teaching found me. Um, I did not set out with this like, oh my gosh, I have to be a professor. I have to teach. It was kind of in the in like the aura around me. It was just like a little seed that was dropped in during my undergraduate years, like, oh, maybe that'd be kind of fun to be a professor. Hmm. And then I went on my way. And then when I got through my graduate studies, um, it was the next thing. It was just like my path was set up for me. I was invited to audition for a faculty part-time position. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I did that. And then they're like, we wanna hire you. I'm like, okay. And I started teaching, and I started off with a lot of students. You know, when you're a part-time faculty member, usually you teach like the majority of singers, at least for a certain section of the college. And it was like banging my head against the wall. I was like, but they don't know how to do anything, and they don't have skill sets, and etc. And of course, I was coming out of grad school as a performer. I was good at performing. I was good at doing it myself, like figuring out how to do something and function at a high level. teaching is not the same at all. It is understanding what the student needs, what their weaknesses are, because they're going to have them, and then learning how to speak their language and to also help them grow. Um, and why I say teaching found me, it does not fulfill me. Um, but I think it has made me a much better person. Motherhood has also made me a better teacher, because I'm a performer. I'm a type A, high functioning performance major. That's what I do the best. I can, back in the day, 10 years ago, I was playing the Paganini Rachmaninoff variations with orchestra. And the next year um, I was singing some cantaloupe pieces with orchestra, and it was like concertos. So that was like what I did really well, and I love doing it. And that to me is the most fulfilling, is being the artist and being the performer. But
So yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
well, just to finish it, I think that artistry can only be reached at a high level when the inner person as well. And for me in particular, education and having to teach transformed my artistry as well as me as a person, um, and made me more patient and have a lot more empathy for everyone around me.
Um, there's so many things again. So, first, how much did you have to battle with imposter syndrome in the beginning?
What?
Didn't you have that? You didn't have imposter syndrome at all?
What is that?
Sorry.
Oh,
I thought,
well,
yeah. Imposter syndrome describes a psychological thing where you feel you're not able to do something, and yet you have to convey as if you can. For example, if somebody is having to be at the Hideaway like me, feeling that they're not even closely on par with any other person that's there
oh,
because they are all
yeah,
better musicians.
we probably all felt that
Um,
way.
that's what I mean. And like trying to wing it and fake it till you make it kind of feeling,
I'm really good at that. I'm
that
really
is
good at that.
imposter syndrome. So I don't know if that explains it better, but now I'm asking you again, like in the beginning when you started teaching, did you have that?
Well, yeah, completely, because I also went from Michelle. My name was Price at that time. I went from Michelle Price to Dr. Price within a semester. My first semester that I taught at ORU was the first semester that I received my doctorate. And I remember showing up to my office, and my beloved chair of the department says, "This is Dr. Price." And I'm just feeling like, right, yeah, I'm doctor. But you earn your doctoral degree, and that's what you're called. So it's kind of like you grow into that mantle all of a sudden that you discover you have. But do you feel like an imposter? Completely. I think that you can feel that way. I don't think we had words to describe that feeling. This would have been 12 years ago. I don't think imposter syndrome at all was like a popular term. You just felt like you didn't quite fit.
How did you manage?
You chin up and you go through it, and you find your way. I know, and I was the young kid on the block, so I was given a number of students, and um, I think those blessed people had to put up with me for their education. And I look back and I look at the student files and I say, oh my gosh, these were like superior and talented students that I had to teach. And I didn't have any kind of um scaffold or bird's eye view. I couldn't tell what students I had been I had received to be their teacher. And you can't see that until you look back with hindsight and go, oh my goodness, that was great. I don't know why I felt so, you know, of course you feel that way because it's your first teaching gig. And I think probably every professor that has become a professor, their first university or the first college, they're kind of like, oh, they think back on like, did I do it? I did it as best as I could. Am I proud of it? I don't know, but it's your first one, so you're going to learn on it.
I think there is a thin line, and probably for some more than for others, there's a thin line in being honest and authentic to revealing that you're like, this is my first year, like, like how much do I open myself up to, oh my God, this is her first year, and like these people
How much do
having
you
like
show
an
them
inner dialogue,
your
and oh my
process?
God, now we're being taught by this person who has no experience, like maybe they think that, maybe people think that.
Yeah.
And how much do you just create an image that, oh, you know exactly what you're doing, and there is no doubt in my mind that I'm a great teacher, like I guess there is a huge discrepancy
Yeah.
between these areas within you. And how did you balance that?
Oh, I don't really know. I think that I don't have strong memories of telling everyone, "Hey, this is my first gig." And it really wasn't my first teaching gig because as graduate students, you always teach along the way. So I had been teaching non-majors or at really quite talented singers that weren't music majors as a graduate assistant for a number of years, and through our Canadian conservatory system, um, there's a strong conservatory with most music programs in Canada. So I was one of the teachers there. And oh my gosh, I had the cutest little kids. They were so cute. Just adorable coming to lessons all the time and just so sweet. So I really cherish those memories that I have. But for my first college teaching job as a full-time faculty member, I think it was probably like I just kept a professional demeanor and I felt like the inauthentic person all the time. You just fake it till you make it, like because you have to lead, you have to say, we're going to do this and we're going to learn these things. And here's the kind of repertoire you should learn. And here's the technique you need to study. And you have to show them what to do. And I think I was probably open with some of them and closed with others. I don't know. I don't quite remember. But they were all very kind to me, and they all got through their degrees, and some of them are still singing. I have students that have gone on to grad school, and it's I don't think you can ruin people that much with your teaching. You totally can be an awful person, but I wasn't trying to be that type of person where you just like damage the soul of people, like some teachers do. I didn't
Good
want to
for
be
you.
that person. I didn't have a lot of spite, like, well, I received these terrible remarks, so I'm going to get everyone back by being that person. No,
Oh
I got
no,
to study
that's
with
yeah,
no, that's awful. Yeah.
yeah.
I had great professors and teachers, including Marilyn Horn herself. Our president at OU was friends with her and invited her to come every semester and give master classes. So for like 6 years, I got to study every semester with Marilyn Horn, the mezzo soprano, who is friends with Pavarotti, and Joan Sutherland and Beverly Sills and all these greats. And so I feel like my pedigree over the years of who I got to study with was really high and really wonderful. And yeah, but I didn't want to emulate too much of what I received, only the good stuff to be a good teacher. And I really just love music so much. I think that's the hardest thing for me as a teacher is I have such a high respect and appreciation for the score, for the music, that I really want everyone to respect it as much and like respect the music, like love it and perform it well. And if you do that, then you're going to get a lot closer to where you need to be than if you're just doing it because I told you, hey, sing this song. and I think it's good for your voice. And then they don't ever love it. They just kind of, okay, I'll do it because you told me to do it.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing. It's like, if you would just open your heart to receive this music, or at least find the music you love, and then let's learn that. So I kind of approach it both ways. I have some repertoire where I'm like, you need to learn this to strengthen your technique, but then bring something to me that you love, that you absolutely want to sing 100%, and let's go there. Because if you don't love it, then how are you going to grow if your heart's not connected to your music making?
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And I think that's one of the distinctions between the obedience and the discipline, right? I guess because if you have to learn it because it's on the menu, you have to eat it because it's on the menu, and we don't have anything else, and either you want this or not. Then
And be
it's a
hungry?
bit more obedient, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
But maybe this ties into the next and maybe also last chapter of our conversation, which I want to explore, and that is the part where you find yourself currently as a musician.
Oh
Again,
gosh.
I think I want to say again. And I want to tie it with goals. Like maybe I'll ask goals first, and then I will definitely
Sure.
put that in. Like where do you want to go with your music, with your artistry, with your performing part of you, and like what's your goals?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so this is a public platform. It's like so weird sharing like some of your most desired things to do in life with the whole world.
Share only what's okay for you.
No, thank you. Thank you. But ultimately, I do want to do that. I want to share our music, me and Steven, my music, with the whole world. I think a goal for me, there can be like long-term goals and short-term goals. The long-term vision is like, oh my gosh, I just want to like tour with my own show and make my own music and have this kind of like a chamber ensemble that I travel with. Mostly me and Steven, because he's guitarist and I'm grand piano behind me. Um, and do what Jacob does, but in my own with my own DNA. So I'll never be a Jacob copy, because no one can be. Jacob is Jacob.
And I think you shouldn't be like anyone shouldn't be a copy. Like, yeah.
No. So he's very inspiring to me. And I think I've grown. My heart has grown immensely since encountering his music. But and his harmonic language is so much richer and complex than mine is, but that's okay. So it would just be that's the long-term goal, is to do something like like his collage of music all in one evening with a small band, and then take it a few places and make albums and t-shirts, and like enjoy the music that we have in our own way. The short-term goal is if I could just get a single out there, and do like a recording session, um, and just say, okay, here I am, because I have all this music inside that is just like under the surface, that I haven't formed.
Do you mean songs that you've written, or what do you mean
Yeah.
with music inside?
Yes. Yeah, I think yeah. What I would love to see myself do is put something out there that is a representative of my whole being. So that includes my spiritual heritage, as well as my classical heritage, as well as all of the art that I have loved in the last decade. If all of that, who I am today, if all of that came out into, and you made a smoothie, like, okay, what's the smoothie flavor? I think it would be unique to who I am, and pretty much no one else, because we are very unique individuals in this world. Everyone is completely unique. There are sometimes you sound like somebody else or whatever, you have a similar skill set. But if you really think about it long enough or quick enough, we are all super unique individuals, and there's no one like Philip. There's no one like Michelle. There's no one like Stephen. And there never will be again. Like, we are unique individuals. So I would be super happy if I just got something out there that was, okay, this is something I'm happy with, and I made it, and start there, and then keep adding songs. And it can also be just not necessarily songs, but I think music. It expands beyond the words, and it goes into just the tones. So I would do some instrumental music as well. And I've got everything set up. I've got a home studio, and I've got the technology, and I have a husband who knows how to run it. I also have, lots of. I just don't have the time yet to take a break from what I do all the time for my job, and just how our day runs, and devote time to the creative process. And that's probably a challenge for most artists, is that we're doing things that we need to do and want to do because we're artists. Artists don't make a lot of money. So you have to figure out how you're making your money to support your life. And then if you're lucky, that is also your artistry, or your artistry is added on the side. So for me, it's just finding enough time to get away from. It's finding a hideaway, haha, from the academic calendar, really, because the academic calendar is a 9-month thing, and just finding ways to get it on the calendar that I'm going to be doing something as an artist.
And can you describe what it is? Like, what, when you're saying it expresses your whole being,
Oh,
is
yeah,
it
sure.
possible? I mean, of course, I mean, the single is not out and there is nothing recorded, so I would rather hear it, but
It's going to come out, and we're like, go back to our podcast and like compare the two.
yeah, but how would you describe it? It's like, for anyone who, because I can imagine, I can interpret of how I perceive you and what you were talking about, how it might be, but of course it's not the same when you explain it.
Yeah. Well, if I were to imagine one single, it would probably start with kind of flowy piano bits. So there'd be a lot of like, I would narrow it down, but my process would be that I start off just spontaneously improvising on the piano, then add my voice in. I am in love right now with the idea of no words. So you could call it songs without words, but it's really music without words, because I feel like the music is saying something even without words. Yes. So music without words. Yeah, I'm kind of in love with this concept of the tones themselves have meaning, and they can say things without having to add a lyric to it. So I think that my track would have a number of like sonic expressions, and maybe some lyrics. But I also love, like, my voice will lend itself to the average range, but then the extension above that is very operatic. So I would love to explore maybe how I could sing. I think there would be tones that are crossover sounding, contemporary, whatever in the middle, and then certainly would have an extension of a range. So it's kind of like if I made a tune that was somewhat classical in nature, but not entirely, um, and combined, I don't know, a freer form of harmonic language, it would come out with something like that. So
Oh,
piano and vocal for sure.
I can't wait until this is out. I have to say I'm not sure if this. I'd be interested in how you like this song. When you described it, I was thinking about that. It's called "Drifting Out" by Little Dragon. I admire. I love it so much. It just speaks to me. Oh my God, it's on a different world, like speaking to me. And
Yeah.
I don't know at all if this is like what you were thinking about, because maybe it's something completely different you had in mind. But when you were
Sure.
describing it, I was thinking of that. So I would be interested in if this matches at all in what your
Uh-huh.
direction you want to go. Is there anything that you want to share? Like, is there open topics that you want to discuss, or something that you have in
Yeah.
mind? Or yeah.
Yeah, I was reminded while you were looking for the track there. Um, I think this just ties everything together. And so you picked up on some interesting words throughout our podcast about, the obedience word I used versus discipline, and the imposter syndrome, and coming in kind of feeling isolated as a classical artist. I think all of those things are pretty well true. But what I experienced at the Hideaway, now it might make a little bit more be more impactful for me to say that I felt accepted. Um,
Mm,
I cried every single day I was there uh, for 4 days. And I think the very first morning, we had a master class with um, Susie Collier.
mm,
And,
mm.
everyone said it's gonna be great. And I walked in and, sit in a circle. And I'm like, okay. And um, there was just, I don't know that there was one thing she said at all that made a difference, but it was her openness for creativity and for love. And uh, uh, because she's a classical musician, she is a classically trained violinist. She could be very demanding, or very come from a place. It's a place I understand. The classical world tends to be more.
Critiquing.
Yeah, there's a lot of critique. There's a lot of like, I don't know the right word is, kind of snobbery, or
Mm, mm. Smugness.
if you ever meet an orchestral musician, they're like, "Is my stand set up? I'm going to play until my contract is over, and then I'm leaving." It's this attitude of like transactional professionalism.
What in pop music you will call diva attitude, right?
Yeah, I mean, the classical world, diva means somebody who's like a great artist, not a
Yeah, yeah,
demanding.
yeah, yeah.
Well, they also demand a bunch of stuff, but whatever. But no, just feeling like n- just really snooty about music. And yeah, I just had really, really great educational trainers growing up. But what I picked up from it was that there is a way, and you should walk in it. And there's only one way, probably. If you're going to be a piano performance major, there's one way to get there, and that's, you got to be the best. And if you're going to be a singer, you got to go do this pathway. And if you're going to be a violinist, you do this and that, and or an educator, whatever it is. But I found myself sitting in Susie's class, where all of those things felt like they could be present because of her pedigree. And instead of telling us what we needed to do to be good creators, um, she made a safe place for us to be ourselves, and to kind of unwind from our perfectionist expectations we have of our own art. And I was so embarrassed. I was just sitting there and I just started crying. It was like she touched on some need that I had had my whole life, to just be to like hear a voice say, "Well done. I'm proud of you. Good job. You're exactly who you need to be right now, and you're complete and you're whole." And that's like the voice of a father, like an internal, like, "I'm pleased with you," that we all kind of long for, and have this like crater inside of us just waiting to be accepted and loved. And I have a great father. It's not like my dad didn't do that for me. But from a classical musician to just say, come abide for a few minutes and unwind, um, it unwound me in ways it was very shocking. I didn't expect that I could be accepted. And then it went on from there to other experiences like Chris Thiele's masterclass.
Wait. Sorry.
Oh,
You cannot move on from this like immediately. First of all, I want to acknowledge that yes, Susie is just, oh my God, she's just amazing. She's just so great. And what did you learn from that lesson for your teaching? From her teaching for your teaching?
Yeah, I went back to teaching the next week, and I wanted to make safe places for my students to discover what they know already, what they think currently, and what they imagine for the future in that process. And that is not a popular, well, maybe it is a popular way of teaching, but it's not quick. And I had a lecture class and I started asking questions, and I just felt like it was influenced directly by her willingness to be open and to not have an agenda. Like, this is what we got to accomplish by the end of this masterclass. This hour together, we're gonna, achieve something. And yes, you should have a specific outcome you want for each lecture that you give as an educator, and all of that stuff, a lesson plan. But I wanted to offer a retreat away from everyone telling you how to do something and get something learned in a lecture, and just give space for my students to think critically and express openly. And it took some time. I feel like they're still learning how to do that, but it's really interesting to watch people open up about thoughts that they have about the subject matter, and just allowing them to abide in that.
Do you think that's something that they like it? Like, does it speak to them the way you do it?
I think it does. I think that is super uncomfortable because then they have to be real people. They can't just
Oh
be
yeah.
taking a class and sitting there and getting a grade for it. But I'm asking them to be here in the room with me and to really exist. And I think I think they're good with it. I think at first they've never had that permission. Also, like what I experienced with Susie, just permission to be okay. Like, I'm good as I am. I'm just going to contribute, and whatever I contribute is going to be wonderful. I'm not used to that. I'm used to having to give the right answer, or want to achieve the best result out of something, always trying to hit the mark, as high as possible, because I guess I'm driven that way. And a lot of musicians are. But yeah, no, I think it's worked well. It's not a, I'm it's not a again, I don't think it's a very popular way of teaching. A lot of teachers will just say, here is the way it is, and blah, 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 blah. And then the student takes notes. And is that learning? Whereas I'm going,
No, I can say no, it's not learning. No.
so then I ask them, well, what is the way that you know? And then they're quiet for a while, and I'm like, but what is the way you know? And then they start talking about it. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure if I agree with you. Do you agree with you? And then I wanted it to be a place where we could have discourse. And I really enjoyed it. It was a great semester. And I think that was directly influenced out of my class with Susie.
That's so cool. The biggest issue that I have with the teacher is, like, if I have issues with the teacher, if
Mhm.
it's mostly because they have a feeling of what is right,
Yeah.
and they always make it sound as it's objective right,
Mhm.
but it's the more they feel this is the right way, it's the
Yeah.
more subjective I feel it is.
Right.
And they try to force their subjective right, like
Yeah.
what is right, and you should follow that and really be obedient, like demanding obedience
Yeah.
and grading you on their subjective what is supposed to be the right way.
Yeah.
And that, oh my God, that is hard for me. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a rebel, so that's very hard for me. That's what always already in school has demotivated me immediately. Like if I just had a hint of this is the way the class is going, I was completely zoned out. Like they lost me at day one. Yeah. So yeah, sorry. I was bringing myself into it, but
yeah, no, it's okay.
yeah, and you wanted to talk about Chris Thile as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So I signed up to play for him. He said, play some Bach. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I mean, I've done it in the past, so I can do it again. And I've also, so I'm coming from the perspective of doing master classes, auditioning for schools, playing competitions, video recordings, etc. So this was not at all like any of those. I played my Bach and he loved it. And he said, let's try this. And I did that and he loved it even more. But I was a little nervous to play some classical music because I didn't feel like it was really like a similar classical community that I was used to performing in front of. It was a mixed community of musicians and artists and lovers of art. And I had no idea how this was going to go over. And I was met with more acceptance and celebration. And like, that was like, it really touched people's hearts in a way that I feel like it wouldn't have touched, the best music critic at an audition or at a public performance. They'd be like, yeah, well, you need to consider, you're not good enough or you didn't do it appropriately or something like the judgment aspect of an art critic. I didn't feel any of that. And it was just like people were really happy and they really received it. And I was kind of shaken by that. Like, I'm not used to that at all. Ever.
That's so crazy.
It was really impactful for me, having experienced more of the criticism, constant, continual criticism, so that you can improve and become a better musician, but feeling like that never stops.
And how did that impact your teaching?
The criticism aspect or the master class?
No. The experience of you being in a supportive environment after having played. How did that affect your teaching?
Well, the whole week wanted me to change our curriculum ASAP and rewrite like how we form musicians. Because I think that the end goal is different now than it used to be 50 years ago. I think that the need for today's musician to become a musician, that the tools that they need and the questions they need to ask themselves and the things they need to learn are different today than they were 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I think there will always be conservatories and really like famous schools that will be considered like the place to go if you want to be a performance major. If you want to be a classical musician, then you need to go insert, the best school in the world. But I think they will always be there. And I love those with all my heart. I love the high art with all my heart. But the need that I see today is that when you get a student that says, I want to become a musician, it's like, okay, well, let's form a musician then. Let's form one from the inside out. We have to start at the basics. We have to start with forming your musicianship, which I think is got to be broader than just, oh, well, you're going to be a classical musician, or you're going to be a jazz musician, or you're going to be, a commercial music major, and you're going to make, film scores and all this stuff. I don't think any of that is applicable until we form the musician. And the musician has to be a happy person. It has to be a person that is seen and heard, challenged, inspired. It's not like you don't do anything, but yeah, feeling like Jacob is such an inspiration for me because he has a lot of musical language that I understand, but also don't understand. Like, oh my goodness, I don't understand what you're doing. I'm going to go study how to do that and like figure it out. Um, but then he also like interacts with his audience in a way that a classical musician probably never would, and gets them involved in the process. And there's this exchange between audience and stage that turns into a community that is so impactful for the community that attends the concert, in a way that I think classical music venues and traditional orchestras uh, insert all of that category of music. I think that until they realize that the audience really wants to be involved and can really be impacted by the music, um, in more creative ways, I think they're going to miss it a little bit. So it's really important to see that, um, that community between stage and audience happening. And then, Jacob goes and does these like, hey, you want to be in my orchestra? Let's sign up and meet me in San Francisco or wherever it was. And then they make this people's orchestra. And that was just divine. And then he's like doing Bach. He's singing like the second violin part with his mom and singing Bach. And then he's improvising with Chris Thile, and it's amazing. And he's got Dodie on there, and he's got all these different artists. It's like, ugh, what a dream.
Yeah, I have this picture, like it's almost like somebody says, I want to be a great, I love food. I love it. I want to cook the best meals in the world. And then they're telling you, well, you're going to become a German pastry chef. Like, this is your road now, and you're only going to do German pastries, and you're going to do them very well, but don't look to India, don't look to America, don't look to
So sad.
Denmark, don't look to, I don't know,
Mhm.
Japan. You're going to be a German pastry chef. And that's and I feel that's, yeah, I think I can share very much what you're talking about.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know, Michelle. There's so much I would like to talk to you about even still, but yeah, I'm asking you, like, is there still something that you want to share? I
Mm.
mean, maybe there is.
Um, yeah, I think for me personally, just I'm really grateful for the experience that I've had in the last year, especially. Um, I'm really grateful that I feel like I'm growing, and I don't necessarily have the end goal clear as to where music is going, but I know it's changing and evolving. And again, like I started with saying, like it felt like my heart was this really dehydrated, dried fruit, and it was hydrated in an intense way um, this summer. And it feels like at the same time my heart was also like broken, in a way that it can rebuild and grow from its brokenness. And as a musician, as an artist, as a music lover, as a person in this world, as a mother, um, as a wife, as a 41-year-old, in this world, um, I think I'm pretty excited. I feel like there's so much yet to behold and enjoy about music. Um, and I really do feel like my time in Terrytown um, started kind of a renovation um, process. So things are kind of torn apart right now. There were some walls that were gutted, and we're rewiring some electronics. And um, I'm confident that what began, the work that began, will continue in all of the people that were involved with that week. And there is I don't know where it's going, but I think it's going to keep evolving. Um, I met some wonderful people. We couldn't meet everyone, but I met you. I met a number of other friends that I was surprised were so welcoming and open-hearted to me as a person. And I don't know why that's surprising. Maybe I don't get out very much. I teach a lot, and then I'm a mom, so I go back to my campus and I go back home and I work a lot. So I don't interact with strangers that often, um, other than the students I encounter and meet every semester. But yeah, meeting all these wonderful people and just falling in love. Oh my gosh. That was like maybe that was part of the renovation. Um, but I felt like I fell in love with people, and I just there was no agenda. You don't need the person for anything. You admire people and you start to see what their strengths and what their personality is. And um, yeah, I would say it was more of a spiritual experience than I anticipated. It felt like it was renovating the inside of me, the core person of who I am. And I don't let that get touched a lot. I feel like I have a good foundation. I know what I believe, like, spiritually about my life and about my family and where we're going from here. Um, I am a spiritual person, and I usually, like, I go to church all the time. Um, I've I've gone to church my whole life, and I have a strong, comfort in my faith. But, I went to that event, and it felt like I was impacted. My faith was impacted, and that was not the goal of I don't know if it was the goal of Jacob and Susie and friends. I don't think so. Maybe it was, but I was impacted in my walk of faith
Hmm.
by non-intentional impacting. Like, they weren't saying, "Okay, this is gonna be a spiritual retreat," or whatever. I mean, there was, like, the whole garden thing, with Gina, like, touching the earth and all that stuff, and I'm like, "Cool, whatever, I'll try anything." But I really I walked away from the collective whole of it feeling transformed on the inside, and my heart was just broken, for all these people that I just fell in love with. Like God would fall in love with you. If God fell in love with every single human person in the whole world, I felt that, and I felt like that work was happening on the inside of me because I needed to have that done. Um, and I was not expecting that. I didn't know what to expect. We're gonna spend 4 days with Jacob Collier. It's gonna be amazing. Oh my gosh. And I just wasn't expecting to be transformed and changed and forever changed. And I just remember, like, the last concert, um, where we were, like, waving our fingers bye to Jacob. I was just bawling my eyes out. And I can't tell you why, but it just made me wanna cry. And, like, that just doesn't happen for me. I'm pretty, like, I've got it together all the time kind of person. But I think that's a really good thing. I think I was really impacted, and I'm excited that that happened for me. And where it goes from here, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it happened.
I can so relate to what you were saying, especially to the part where, like, feeling this love, falling in love, like being surrounded by love, supported. That,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that I felt the same way. I think that's what most people felt. It was
Yeah.
so nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great last words to this episode. I mean, this is nailed it, I would say. Thank you so much, Michelle, for your time.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I will I can't wait to hear your performance and see where you're going with your finding yourself and growing, like building your new house and renovating and all of these anecdotes you had. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking all those questions I didn't even know were there.
Yeah, I also never know that they're there, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.